Welcome. In this session, we will discuss on Down to Earth recent edition, and it mainly focuses on three things: sustainable tourism, genetic resources, and heat forecast. So, the first topic that we would start with is sustainable tourism. Now, this has been an effort by the women in Uttarakhand village, which is the Choprial village, and here people have been sharing time understanding the need to generate forest resources in such a way that those who are interested can take the area forward. So there are walking trails that have been built, and these trails and walking tours have collectively led to earning of more than 1 lakh for the village in within the village and the nearby forest areas. So women were part of Himvikas Samiti, and this is a self-help group which is based on the idea that there would be rural tourism and natural trails that would be developed in the areas of Uttarakhand. Now, this trails would be creating a pathway to reach to the heritage which has been abandoned, the areas which have been covered under it, and then also focusing on the eateries which would be established, the various traditional cuisines which would be established on the way, right? The next one is the genetic resources. The genetic resources focuses on the plant and the forest genetic resources which have been gathered in Rome. So this meeting talks about the conservation, focusing on the various aspects of biodiversity, focusing on the animal species, the plant species, the heritage conservation under the conservation for biological diversity. And also it has revealed that 60% of the global crop production is dependent on only 9 crop species. So understanding the variety that can be grown is another important idea. So this forest genetic resource points about the shortage of tree seeds that are there, and also it focuses on how these species could be conserved. The next is the recent earthquake that was witnessed in the region of Myanmar. There was no magnitude of this range which was witnessed since 1990s, and this was a magnitude 7.7 which impacted the regions of Thailand. Also there was the major area which was the sagging fault which separates India and the Sunda tectonic plates, and this was where this earthquake was witnessed. So this devastating earthquake was significantly devastating in the regions of Myanmar, leading to death of nearly 3,000 people. There have been risks which have been cited in the regions of Myanmar by the National Institute of Disaster Management, and that is where they are talking about the future tremors that could be felt in the regions of Thailand as well. There were building collapses and fatalities in the regions nearby to Myanmar as well. The next one is the forest fires, the wildfires in the regions of South Korea. There were 20 wildfire incidents within this period, and also there were extensive blaze which was seen in the Useong county, which affected nearly 38,000 hectares of the land, and it was the largest single forest fire ever recorded in the history of South Korea. Also there have been prolonged fires in various regions. The influences have been seen. UK also has seen recent grass fires with major outbreaks in the regions of Scotland and Hampshire, which has affected nearly 15 to 35 hectares, 25 hectares of land. The temperatures have reached up to 24 degrees Celsius in the month, which are far higher from the normal range. The next is Hindu Kush Glacier. The Hindu Kush Glacier has retreated nearly 65% in the last 10 years, and this is a very high figure. Now, if the glaciers recede at this rate, it is believed that half of these glaciers would disappear if the temperature reaches or the world temperature goes 2 degrees Celsius warmer. Now, this thinning of the glacier has huge impact on the downstream rivers and ultimately the sea level. So there has been a forum which is the UN World Water Development Report, which actually mentions that Increase in 1.5 to 2 degrees Celsius temperature could lead to decrease in the volume of glaciers by 30 to 50% by 2100, which is a very significant figure. And if it exceeds 2 degree, we can see disappearance of the glaciers, which can lead to immense water insecurity. Also, there has been a note on the Karakoram range, formerly known as the Karakoram anomaly. Now, this is experiencing sudden changes. This was the region where glaciers showed modest growth in 1990s. Now, this has been an area where there has been stream flows which have been significantly impacted. The volume of the snow melt has exceeded the glacier melt, and this now experiences a longer winter from October to March. Now, this in the past, which was a longer winter, is now reduced, and there is late winter, early spring, which leads to more melting of the glaciers and ultimately a significant impact onto the life. The next is the cascading impacts. Now, climate change has a significant impact, as we said, on the mountains, on the glaciers, and there is an approximate study which says that 1.1 billion people who reside in mountainous areas, with two-thirds residing in the urban areas, would be directly or indirectly affected. And as we said, that there would be a significant loss in the volume of the glacier. This would lead to increase in the downflow, and glacier lake outburst floods could be another risk. There could be risk associated to landslides, flash floods, impact on human settlements. Many areas where the environmental impact assessment is not carefully done, those would be significantly affected, and this region would see more than 7,000, has already seen more than 7,000 fatalities in the previous times. Also, this has been increased due to higher greenhouse gas emissions, rising wildfires, black carbon deposition on glaciers, which has led to more insolation being affecting the glaciers. As a result, the rate of melting of the glaciers has increased. We have covered the impact of black soot on glacier in a separate lecture in detail. So if you are more interested into it, you can watch our lecture on geography where we have covered that. Now, as we said, there has been a rapid decline. The rate of the cumulative change with the reference to the glaciers in various regions across the globe, you can see. And this green line talks about the Western Canada and US area, which has registered the significant change with reference to glacier relative to 1976. The highest downfall has been reported in the regions of Western Canada and US, and there has been significant impact in the other territories as well. The other major impact area is this blue line, which you can see is the region of Central Asia, impacting the region of Himalayan mountain ranges, right? The next is the tariff escalation. Now, reciprocal tariff was one of the major debates. We have covered a separate lecture onto it, so you can go through that lecture for more detail and relevance. But yes, the executive order, the name of the order was really important. It was regulating imports with reciprocal tariff to rectify trade practices which contribute to large annual US trade deficit. Now, 57 countries were targeted. There were two bases in which these tariffs were divided: the country-based tariffs and the sector-based tariffs. So country-based tariffs are already into effect, and then they have been later paused for another period of 90 days. Then there are sectoral tariffs. For example, pharma is one of the sectors which is under the sectoral tariff. The areas which United States want to develop in-house competency, right? The next one is the South Asian neighbors have faced the highest ever tariffs, and Sri Lanka subjected to nearly 44%, Bangladesh 47%, Pakistan 40%. And then we are also seeing a higher tariff being imposed on sectors like aluminum, steel. So these are one of the major building blocks of manufacturing sectors, and they would be affected. The whole idea runs around the policy of Trump, which is America first, and this trade policy talks about a protectionist trade policy, which has been since the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act of 1930, which is again important. Now, this act had two harmful effects that it was witnessed. It worsened the economic crisis which was there in 1929, leading to the crash of the stock market, leading to Great Depression in United States, and it again triggered the impact of tariffs, which started the trade war among the various economies. Now, this was seen back in 1930s, and now the protectionist protectionist policies are similar to what was being brought in 1930, the Smith-Hawley Tariff Act, right? So again, these are some of the major areas. Now, the sectoral allocation and the details on the various imports and exports have been given for detail here. You can check those out in the handouts section. The next is the big loss to the pharma. As we saw, India has become a market for weight loss drugs, mainly for obesity pandemic, and it has been published in Lancet that India's population could be obese by 2050, more obese, nearly 1/3 of the population would turn obese by 2050. Now, this estimates are very, very conservative, indicating that 24% of the women and 23% of the men are overweight, right? Now, to understand this, there are pharma companies coming in. So, two pharma companies which are US based, Eli Lilly and the Danish firm Novo Nordisk, have been competing to bring in popular drugs for control of diabetes, for control of obesity. Now, this drug, which is the tirzepatide, was brought in India for type 2 diabetes and also for weight management. There was a drug which was branded as Mounjaro in India, which was available as injection in a single dose vial. Now, this has again the prices for the weekly injections is somewhere around 14,000 to 17,000. Mounjaro launched its type 2 diabetes product, which has been marketed, and this is in tough competition to the one released by Eli Lilly, and this mimics the hormone which reduces the appetite and stimulates the release of insulin. However, there have been significant side effects cited to it, which includes nausea, vomiting. So there has been again side effects like vision loss, thyroid, hair loss, which have been associated with this drug. Now, the next is the real solution that could be brought. So rather than these anti-obesity drugs, right, there can be a potential solution, and that could be change in the lifestyle. So Mission Life is one of the ideas through which we are talking about bringing a change in the lifestyle of individual, making the lifestyle more active. Then the next thing that relates to it is the public health. Now, Roche's lawsuit against NATCO talks about the challenges which patients faced for rare diseases when they were about to get medications for the same. There have been various rulings which have been dealt with the access to life-saving medicines, and the judgments for the same have been released, right? These have been very, very important, and there have been various disorders. For example, SMA, which is a spinal muscle atrophy, is a rare genetic disease, and it affects the motor nerve, which affects the spinal cord, and it affects our activities, for example, eating, crawling, walking. Now, this condition is progressive, incurable, and requires a lifelong treatment. So there have been marketed solutions which are very, very costly. There are oral solutions which have been brought. Now, there is an application of a single bottle of risdiplam, which is priced somewhere at around 6 lakh. Now, patients weighing more than 20 kilograms, one bottle could last only 12 days. That implies that if a person wants to stay sustained across this disease for 1 year, they would have to pay nearly 1.8 crores. So this was a huge burden, or this is a huge burden on people when they actually counter any rare genetic disorder. So these were some of the important aspects that have been discussed, and court's notice have been given in the cases of patent infringement, where the large pharma company often cross-question about the patent assistance program, where subsidized medicines should be offered to selected group of patients, where specifically in the category of rare genetic disorders, as we have discussed here. So under this, there have been a policy which has been brought, where price cut was proposed, and nearly 1,118 patients benefited despite 63 rare diseases being recognized, right? So there has to be a balance of convenience which has to be taken into account. The next is the energy paradox. Now, there was a Paris AI Action Summit in February where global leaders came together to understand that when we are bringing a lot of artificial intelligence, that would bring in undue burden on the energy demand. Now, this summit talks about the growing consumption of the nations for AI revolution, and for that, the same purpose, there would be higher amount of energy that would be required. So, there has been an idea of creation of observatory on energy, AI, and data centers, which would be launched in April 2025 under the International Energy Agency. Now, this observatory would collect data based on the AI's electricity consumption, monitoring the application of AI for energy sector, highlighting the areas where how AI could reduce the environmental damage by better energy efficiency projects. Large scale models could be created which could be more energy efficient, reducing the carbon emissions for the same. So even for applications like ChatGPT, Gemini, we are relying on pre-trained transformer models, and every stage of their life cycle requires a lot of planning collection for their maintenance. So these AI infrastructure consume a huge amount of energy, somewhere around 460 terawatts hours of electricity in 2022 as it was cited. Now this consumption has been significantly high, and it has been a continuous race to reduce the consumption for the AI infrastructure. So reducing the AI footprint again has been one of the major ideas. So the global data power center consumption decreased due to efficiency improvement, and also there have been centers which have been working on energy efficient hardwares, low power chips, optimized AI models, and better data insulation to reduce the cooling requirements for AI purpose. So these are some of the efforts that have been in line. The next is the health impact of water consumption. Now in the recent years we have been talking about the environment and the health cost in a lot, and we are seeing the goal is to develop a AI technology in an environment friendly way. So facilities where, let's say, megawatt facility can use up to 26 million liters annually, enough to supply a city's water needs for few days. Now there are various data centers across various countries which are facing extreme water stress. Indonesia has the highest number of data centers in the water stressed region. So even in those areas, how water availability can be streamlined is again important. So AI, with this revolution of AI, we are definitely concerned with another important aspect, and that is job security and vanishing jobs which are of low skill, right? So again, these models are generating let's say coherent passages on a prompt, so coherent paragraphs. So there is reduced requirement of technical writer. The only function that would be required is reasoning, learning, problem solving, because these AI models can work at a faster pace without fatigue and without human interference, so are available 24/7. Now these tools, for example, Microsoft's Copilot, Meta's Llama, Gemini by Google are some of the examples that we have cited. Now the list again we have covered in a separate lecture, which is really important for your NET examination. Usually questions like that come, so refer that as well. Now machine language and the concept of machine learning, we have also focused on that, but again AI is moving into segments like image processing. So DALE-E is one such idea, and then there are other autonomy systems of AI. For example, AlphaFold by Google is another one. Operator and Chinese Manus has been another important agents. Now these AI agents cannot just do the work like the ChatGPT or Gemini, but they can actually bring in results through analysis of various data. For example, Manus can actually help you find a reasonable apartment in a locality that you are looking for, checking across the prices from various sites, the various availability, the housing structures that you are looking for. Across all, they can select few for your parameters that you have put in, right? Again, there are examples of AI assistants like Alexa, Cortex, Antenna and Apple Siri. So those are again good examples. Then we focus on large language models. Now large language models and large multimodal models, those we have covered in separate lectures. So just go back on the lecture on AI that we have covered, where we have also classified the types of AI: general AI, strong AI, broad AI, and so on. So all this you would find in there. Also this would be available in handouts, but yes, this is really important for this examination. Also the economic aspects of tariff, the environmental impact. So these are really important topics. The next is the new age workforce. Now with the change in AI, this is what is really important. So organizations which have low exposure to AI are only 12%. Reskilling and upskilling for better workforce is required for nearly 77% people, and that is the share of employees which are needed and has been reported by the World Economic Forum. That means if you have a certain skill set, if you don't upgrade yourself and reskill yourself, your skills would be vanished and lost with the AI revolution. So that's again very important, that has been pointed out here. Now for example, there has been a simple case study which has been given. Now this says that with the launch of ChatGPT, image creation jobs like graphic designing, 3D modeling already saw 17% decline, which is a significant decline. And this is a report from London Business School, Harvard Business School, and German Institute of Economic Research in a 2023 paper itself. So 1 year back, right? So we can see how it would impact in the coming years. Okay, so job generation would be one of the important areas which would be affected, but again important roles in AI research would still be there. So deployment, development, and maintenance are some of the areas where jobs would be pretty secure. So AI trainers, AI explainers, AI sustainers are some of the important areas where jobs would remain safe. Now with the rise of generative AI, there is a focus to shift on another development in the segment, which is AI agent and artificial general intelligence, and these are considered as the next big achievement, and Manus, as we said, is one such example. Also there has been a race for supremacy. China and US have been one of the biggest competitors to achieve artificial general intelligence, where both of the nations are focusing significantly on semiconductor technology. US has now talked about creating infrastructure for AI systems, and this would be in line with citing the national security concerns. Then with artificial intelligence, we are gaining momentum towards machine intelligence, the idea which was tested long back by Alan Turing. And the idea is machine can deceive humans to actually turn out to be intelligent and do respective jobs, right? So chatbots, which was one of the creations, has been now turning into more features, and it has been definitely revolutionary. There has been significant developments under AlphaFold. For example, it has talked about enabling prediction of protein structures within minutes. Google Cloud AI agent ecosystem is another one. Apple has also introduced its own AI system. Nvidia is talking about visual AI agents. Sora has been working on generation models for text, image, and video inputs. Chinese company R1, the Chinese company DeepSeek, which has launched the R1, matches the performance of OpenAI O1, and this is the one which has significantly reduced the cost. So there has been a continuous breakthrough research in this field, and every day we hear of something new. So here is again a list of the chatbots which have been revealed by major companies, which include Google, Meta, X, Amazon, Microsoft, and so on. Now the next is AI technology, which has been guiding another AIs are now coming in, and this would be another breakthrough technology which would be released. The next one is the corporate turnover. Now here we are focusing on provisions for lobbying, where economic economic startups are coming together, mainly the European startups. Okay, then the China's private party has been gaining control over the China's landscape, which was dispersed, and there are several startups which are coming, and some of these are Zupu AI, Minimax, Bychon, DeepSeek, which have been in the forefronts of large language model innovations. So all these have been really important, and reshaping and restructuring AI models have been one of the major ideas. Now again, AI could face exploitative use. For example, the AI tool Lavender, which was used to assign the scores to Palestinians, have increased the risk of civilians being targeted. So AI can turn out into exploitative use as well, where Israel has labeled Palestine human rights group as terrorist, and this could lead to AI systems making wrongful decisions in certain cases, right? So there has been multifaceted threats which has been seen, where wrongfully arrests have been made based on incorrect AI facial recognition, where there was biasness in the automated system which was reported. So 2025 AI Index report says that 57% increase in AI related crimes and deepfake images have been witnessed. There have been issues which relate to cybersecurity which have been increasing. However, the governance landscape is really important for cyber policy, cybersecurity, and protecting privacy and civil rights of an individual, right? Now there are various regulatory laws which have been brought, and some of those have been cited here. These relate to privacy, security, unfair trade practices, infringement of copyright, discrimination, dealing with the impact of the AI. These are some of the legal aspects of AI that have been discussed. Then the training boards, the ethical data set which is to be required for training the AI models, how they are to be used, and how they are being paid for creation of data set for the minimum wages. There have been recent AI related announcements in India as well. For example, Gujarat would be one where AI labs would be established in several technical institutions, specifically in the forest and wildlife monitoring. Similarly, for other states, it has been for crowd control, for policing, for health, for education. So each of the state has given their details where they would be implementing AI in a different way or a different form, right? The egg fruit, which is golden in color, is usually seen in the southern states, and this is one of the important fruits because it is highly nutritious and has a good medicinal value as well. It has a unique fragrance which is similar to chiku or sapota and has a mild sweetness. Now this egg fruit, which is in scientific name called as Potiria campesiana, has been important. Now this is natively cultivated in the regions of Central America. In Sri Lanka, it has been known by different names. There are other areas where this has been cultivated and utilized and has been used for creating various pulps and cakes. Also, there has been significant higher level of bioactive compounds which have been found in this, which have been really important to treat diseases like diabetes, pain, and has been used as rare treatment as acetaminophen, which could be, we could say, this could be a substitute to acetaminophen, which could harm the liver in another case, right? So there have been various uses, the medicinal uses which have been cited for egg fruit. The next is the evolving identity. Now America through the tariffs has been evolving its identity, and since we are living in a globalized world system where we have a globalized food system, if this daily intake of the food requirements are being hit, it would affect the economy at its root, right? So there have been debates on reducing the rate of dollar as well, reducing the value of dollar, and there has been issues which have been cited where there are numerous countries which are net food importers. 80% of the population in the world lives in the areas where the countries are net food importers, and this number would significantly rise by 2025. This was the figure from 2015. Now if half of the population depends on calories from outside their native country. With this trade wars, this becomes a significant issue where rising cases of undernutrition, malnutrition could be seen specifically in the young age group, which could lead to a significant impact, or we could say health burden for the respective countries. For example, Ivory is a region where the Ivory Coast is ideal for coca production, where nearly 4.7 million hectare is dedicated to this crop. In contrast, US has only 1500 hectares which is suitable for coca production. Now, in order to have coca in United States, there is a definite requirement of import from Ivory, but the recent imposition of 21% tariff on Ivory Coast would see a reduce in the coca imports in the region. Now, all of the sudden, the country won't start producing a lot of coca, so there would be a domestic increase in the demand, and there could be negative consequences and disruption of the global food systems that could be affected. Some other news which are related to this month have been discussed in this edition, which again talks about traces of avian influenza which have been identified, 6 new species which have been identified in the Antarctic seafloor. There has been a massive region which has been discovered, that is the George 6 ice shelf, and this is a floating glacier which is linked to Antarctic Peninsula ice sheet. There have been marine features like ice fish, giant sea spiders and octopus which have been identified. The next is the Australia's western coastline has suffered damage of coral bleaching in the regions of Ningalo Reef, and this is because the temperature has increased by 3 degrees above normal. IMD has talked about double heat wave, especially in the northwest India, where there would be 10 to 12 heat wave days, typically lasting for 5 to 6 days, which would have a significant impact in the regions of south and northeast. Also, there have been reports on avian influenza which has been affecting people in India as well. There has been an increase in the price of the BT cotton, which is again a very, very important aspect, and this has been because of the infestation which was seen in the BT cotton of pink bollworm, right? So this impact has also affected the area. There has been rising concern of ozone pollution in major cities in India, and the tribunal, which is the National Green Tribunal, has cited for a report talking about the reasons for the same and identifying the solid waste and sewage management systems in specific areas, for example in Punjab, to understand the impact, right? The next is the NGT has recently approved a floating solar power project at Jaikawadi Dam in Maharashtra, which the court ultimately dismissed. Now, there was a stay on the cutting of trees in the Kancha Gachibowli forest in Hyderabad, which lies in the University of Hyderabad and has been under recent controversies. So, these were some of the other news that have been discussed in Down to Earth edition. Thanks for joining in. In case you have any other questions or queries, feel free to connect back. Have a great day.